The silent revenge of divorce survivors. There is a moment after divorce that almost nobody talks about. It doesn't happen in court. It doesn't happen during arguments. And it definitely doesn't happen during the painful nights when everything feels like it's falling apart. It happens quietly, months later, sometimes years later. It's the moment when you realize something surprising. You didn't lose, you survived, and the life you're slowly building is stronger than the life you left behind. Many people think revenge after divorce means fighting, proving someone wrong, or showing anger. But the most powerful form of revenge is something much quieter. It is rebuilding your life so fully that the past no longer controls your future. This is what many people call the silent revenge of divorce survivors. And today, we're going to talk about what that really means. Because the real victory after divorce is not hurting someone else. It is becoming someone stronger than you ever imagined. The pain that comes before the power. Before the strength comes. There is always a period of deep pain. Divorce changes everything. Your daily routines disappear. Your home feels different. Sometimes even your identity feels uncertain. Many people describe the early stage of divorce as feeling like they are walking through fog. Nothing feels clear. You may question your decisions. You may wonder if you failed. You may even feel like your entire future has collapsed. And that feeling is incredibly common. Divorce is not just the end of a relationship. It is the end of a chapter you thought would last a lifetime. And when something that big ends, grief naturally follows. But here is the part many people do not realize. That painful stage is not the end of your story. It is the beginning of your transformation. Why silence becomes your strength. One of the biggest mistakes people make after divorce is trying to prove something. Trying to prove they were right. Trying to prove they were the better partner. Trying to prove they didn't lose. But the people who truly rebuild their lives rarely spend their energy on that. Instead, they become quiet. Not because they are weak, but because they understand something powerful. Energy is limited, and every ounce of energy spent arguing about the past is energy that cannot be used to build the future. So instead of fighting, they focus. Instead of explaining, they heal. Instead of chasing closure, they create new beginnings. This quiet focus becomes their greatest strength, because while others are still stuck in the drama of the past, they are already building the next chapter of their lives. The rebuilding phase. After the emotional storm begins to settle, something important starts to happen. You begin rebuilding. Sometimes it starts with small things, cleaning your living space, creating new routines, learning how to enjoy quiet evenings. At first, these changes may feel uncomfortable, but slowly, they become empowering. You start realizing something you may have forgotten. You are capable. You are resilient. You are stronger than the situation that tried to break you. And every small step forward becomes proof of that strength. You start focusing on your health, your peace, your goals, and most importantly, your self-worth. This rebuilding phase is where silent revenge truly begins, because the more you grow, the less the past defines you. The moment you stop explaining yourself. One of the most powerful shifts after divorce happens when you stop feeling the need to explain yourself. In the early stages, many people want validation. They want people to understand their side of the story. They want the truth to be seen. But over time, something changes. You realize that peace does not come from convincing others. Peace comes from knowing your truth and living your life with integrity. You no longer need to argue about what happened. You no longer need to defend every detail of your past. You simply move forward. And that quiet confidence becomes incredibly powerful, because when someone is no longer trying to prove themselves, they become unstoppable. Growth becomes your greatest statement. There is a moment when people who once knew you start noticing something different. You seem calmer, stronger, more focused. You carry yourself differently. And the reason is simple: you grew. Divorce forced you to confront difficult truths. It forced you to rediscover who you are. It forced you to rebuild your life piece by piece. And through that process, you developed a deeper understanding of yourself. Your boundaries become stronger. Your confidence becomes quieter but more solid. Your priorities become clearer. This is when your life starts to shift in ways you never expected. Opportunities appear. Friendships deepen. New passions emerge. And suddenly the life that once felt broken begins to feel full again. That transformation speaks louder than any argument ever could. The power of emotional independence. One of the greatest gifts that can come from divorce is emotional independence. Before the separation, much of your emotional world may have been connected to another person. Their approval mattered. Their reactions affected your mood. Their presence shaped your daily life. But after divorce, something important happens. You begin learning how to stand emotionally on your own. At first, this can feel frightening, but over time, it becomes liberating. You realize your happiness does not depend on someone else's validation. Your peace does not. Letting go of the need for revenge. The phrase silent revenge can sometimes be misunderstood. True healing is not about hurting someone back. It is about reaching a place where you no longer need revenge at all. The real victory after divorce is peace. When anger fades, when resentment loses its power, when your life becomes bigger than the conflict that once consumed it. At that point, you realize the unexpected. Freedom. Many people discover something surprising after divorce. Freedom. Freedom to design their life differently. Freedom to explore interests they never had time for. Freedom to rediscover who they are outside of a relationship. At first, this freedom may feel unfamiliar, but gradually it becomes empowering. You begin making decisions based on what truly aligns with your values. You learn to trust your instincts again. And the life you build begins to reflect the person you are becoming. That sense of freedom is one of the most beautiful parts of rebuilding after divorce. When peace becomes your new normal, healing does not happen overnight. But over time, the emotional storms begin to fade. The memories that once caused pain begin to lose their intensity. You no longer wake up thinking about the past. Instead, your focus shifts to the present and the future. Your life becomes calmer. Your mind becomes clearer, and your sense of self becomes stronger. This is the stage where many divorce survivors finally realize something powerful. They are not broken, they are transformed. The real victory. After divorce. The silent revenge of divorce survivors is not revenge at all. It is resilience. It is rebuilding. It is choosing growth over bitterness. It is choosing peace over conflict. And most importantly, it is creating a life that is richer, stronger, and more authentic than the one that ended. Divorce may close one chapter of your life, but it also opens another. A chapter where your happiness is no longer dependent on the past. A chapter where your strength becomes the foundation for everything that comes next. And sometimes the most powerful response to a painful ending is simply living a beautiful life afterward. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe.